Greetings and welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of the True Sky Crew Real Sky Astrology podcast. I'm your host, Sachi the Seer, and today we are going to be talking about Saturn Retrograde 2026. So I'm recording this on August 3rd, and we are already in the full swing of Saturn Retrograde. So Saturn began its retrograde on July 26th and is going to be retrograding back towards Neptune. We will go months into the future, and it will be until December 10th. In the Piscean star system, technically between Pisces and Cetus here. So that's the energy that we are going to be working with. The activating star throughout the entire retrograde is going to be this star right here, Delta Pisceum, which we will discuss. Before we get into the Saturn retrograde, I have a couple announcements that I would like to make. If you were unable to make the live class of Mastering Spiritual Protection, then it is available now on replay. So the replay includes the video of the class that you can watch anytime. It also comes with a pre-class worksheet for you to take before you begin the class, and then note-taking pages for you to organize everything in a meaningful way while you're watching the video, and that way you can look back on your notes very quickly, and also some post-class reflection pages. In this class, we go over what is spiritual protection, what needs spiritual protection, how to tell if you aren't fully protected or if your defense mechanisms have been penetrated, some general rules of thumb for spiritual protection, different types of spiritual protection, and then I give you over 20 different protection mechanisms that you can utilize. Because here's a little freebie. One of the rules of thumb for spiritual protection is that you want to layer your spiritual protection. So I give you over 20 different ways that you can do this, and you can experiment with them. Feel which one is the easiest for you, because again, protection isn't meant to be some daunting task. It's meant to give you peace of mind, right? So if it's going to take you forever or, be laborious, then it's not really protecting your peace, right? So this gives you a lot of some like more intense ways, but more easy, effortless things that coincide with what you already do on a day-to-day basis that you can turn into a protection mechanism. So I'm kind of going back to the basics here because I realize as I am rebirthing back into the spiritual community, I think it's really important for everyone to know the basic principles of energy. And protecting yourself is absolutely essential, especially in these days where a lot of spiritual folk are targeted. And it's important to make sure that you have your defenses up. So the replay is available if that interests you. My next live class is going to be on August 16th at 7 p.m. And there's still live class seats available. This is Mastering, Cleansing, and Clearing Energy. So protection and cleansing and clearing, they kind of go hand in hand. Again, this is the basics. Like these are things that you should know how to master before you start doing anything else, before you start dabbling in energy work, before you start doing, energy work for other people, divination, all that sort of thing. Because if you aren't properly cleansing energy or clearing energy and knowing how to protect yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice and perhaps other people a disservice as well if you're doing, if you're in service to others. So all right. So yes, this will include access to the live class, which will also involve a live Q&A at the end. So if you have any specific questions, make sure to join the live class for this. It also has a pre-class worksheet for you to do, a post-class worksheet, and you will have lifetime access to the replay as well. And the topics that we go over in this class: first, we will go over why cleansing and clearing is important. What is the difference between cleansing energy versus clearing energy? They're two totally different processes. And what is it that you can cleanse and clear? Some signs that you need to cleanse or clear energy. I will go over light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty methods of cleansing. So I will give you multiple ways to cleanse energy: light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty. So I think there's at least 15 to 20 different methods overall. I think about 5 to 8 per light, medium, or heavy duty. How to do these things and when to use them when they are appropriate. Cleansing is not a one size fits all. Same with protection. The way you protect your own aura is not going to be the same way that you protect your house, for example, okay, or your social media account, things like that. Then I will go over methods of clearing energy. And then I also will go over smudging, which is I will give you a step-by-step how to do this, what to use, and signs to look for. Smudging is a very specific practice. A lot of people think that they can just wave a sage bundle around and they're smudging their space. No, it is a very specific methodology, what you say, what you do, the things you have to do before, the things you have to do after, the direction that you do it, where you start, where you end. It is very, very specific. So I go through every single step so that you know exactly how to do this, how to keep your cleansing and clearing to last as long as possible, and then tips for upkeeping spiritual hygiene. And this is really important because if you keep up on your light duty methods of cleansing energy, you typically don't have to engage with medium or heavy duty. It's really only when you neglect your daily or bi-daily practices of cleansing energy that it stacks up, and then you're going to have to spend more time, energy, or money on doing some of these heavier duty methods of cleansing. So, and again, a lot of things, just like protection, I give you the easiest ways that you can do them, things that you're already doing, things that can be set on autopilot, things that can be set it and forget it, because I just want you to be successful in doing this. And again, I just think this is so important for everyone to know. And that's why I'm kind of starting back at the basics so that everyone's on the same page. And as we move forward together, you know how to do these types of things. Currently, the live class seat is $22.22. The price of the replay is going to go up. I always incentivize people to come to the live class because I think showing up to the live class is just good for, morale. It helps you listen more intently, and it also helps you with the live Q&A at the end. I think that's very helpful. Although I will say for Mastering Spiritual Protection, I do offer, if you have questions if you're watching the replay, you can comment on the video and I will respond to the comment. That way other people can see it as well. But again, I always like to encourage to join the live class, so I always make it a financial incentive. And then, of course, Calculating True Sky Data, my master course that I put out months ago, is still available if you are interested in that. For all you True Sky astrology people, this is an 8-module video series on how to calculate all of the celestial data points. So how to find the actual planets, asteroids, things like North Node, South Node, Midheaven, Ascension Point, Descension Point, Imum Coeli. These things that are actual celestial placements rather than, all calculators that I've seen use incorrect averages. They use improper, fictitious data points. And so I teach you how to do the actual data points with your Sky app. And then I also teach you how to do the average if you want to do it that way, but I always make sure to provide you the information and the context of what these data points actually mean so that you can make a decision for yourself of how you want to do True Sky data, but at least it's coming from a place where you're informed. So you're making an informed decision rather than just doing something because that's the way it's been done or because someone tells you to do it. Okay. So, and then it also comes with a charts for you to fill out and note-taking pages throughout the entire master course, an introduction video that will go over everything of the class. And then it also goes over, it has a self-test included so that you can test your knowledge after you've completed the course, and then a video answer key to the self-test so that way you can check your work. And again, this is going to be finding the most astronomically accurate data for astrological use. Ascension Point, Descension Point, Midheaven, Imum Coeli, North Node, South Node, Vertex, Part of Fortune, and more with the Sky app. You will learn how to calculate star activations and star alignments. And you will learn how to find the angular relationships the aspects, true aspects, not averaged aspects based on ecliptic data like a lot of calculators do. And then again, you will be able to formulate your own methodology of applying these celestial calculations to true sky astrology with actual celestial data. So again, I teach you, for example, with the North Node and South Node, they hop. They don't move like ticking hands on a clock. They hop, they jump from one position to the next. It's an actual celestial event in time. But if you want to do an average, then I teach you how to do that. And I tell you that it is a fictitious point, but again, you're going to come from a place of informed consent of the type of astrology that how you want to apply it. So, if that interests you, go ahead and check that out. And then, of course, my books are open for my astrology services. If you are interested, I am currently taking clients for all of my astrology services currently. So, True Sky Star Report is a written report all about your specific stars. Right now, it's Sun, Moon, and Rising. I'm going to be expanding that soon. And then your natal chart analysis, you can ask specific questions, 3 or 5, or a full analysis, or a written book. And this also comes with a free copy of your True Sky natal chart, or you could just get your True Sky chart on its own. And then, of course, the Astrological Poke Party if you are into Pokemon like me. It's basically translating your Pokemon chart into your astrology chart into your Pokemon party as a written report, citing the Pokedex and astrological data. So that's just something fun that a lot of Poke people like. All right, so also make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you follow the True Sky Crew on Instagram. And of course, follow me and subscribe to me, Sachi the Seer, for more True Sky information. I post a lot more on Instagram. All right. So, yeah, let's talk Saturn retrograde. Oh, and make sure that you are a member, an Eagle or Phoenix member on SachiTheSeer.com for various discounts and even more True Sky information. I basically have to start putting it on my website now. I'm trying to avoid AI scraping because True Sky Astrology, AI cannot do it. You can try asking these AI models questions about True Sky Astrology and they can't. They literally cannot. So, being a true sky astrologist, we're definitely in the safe part of, people trying to use AI to read their charts and things like that. It literally cannot be done. Um, so I am keeping more information on my website as a member-only service to prevent uh, training the machine. All right, so like I said, Saturn retrograde, July 26th through December 10th. Okay, and we have Saturn that's going to be moving back towards Neptune through this process. Neptune will be retrograding for part of this as well, but Saturn is going to be getting closer to Neptune. And again, Delta Pisceum is going to be the activating star throughout the entirety of the retrograde. It's going to be at the end of the retrograde, it's going to be the furthest away. And it's going to be about it's going to be 8 degrees away from Saturn and second to Iota Cedae right here, which is 9 degrees from Saturn. So Delta Pisceum is the activating star throughout the entire time. So in this episode, what I'm going to do is talk about Saturn retrograde in general, what this means for the collective, what you can expect. We will highlight some of the energies of Delta Pisceum here as the activating star. And then I'm going to go through all of the alignments and give you the dates of what that is. We have a lot of alignments with the Andromeda star system, Cassiopeia, some in Tucana, Hydrae, and Phoenix, which I love. We'll also have an alignment with the South Galactic Pole during Saturn retrograde, which is huge. That's a big one. So this is going to be a um, multi-month transit. And I just think it's really important to talk about because Saturn influences a lot of us on such a daily basis because of kind of the matrix overlays and Saturnian distortions overlays that we are dealing with in our time. So I'm going to go through this energy, and then if you are a member on SachiTheSeer.com, an Eagle or Phoenix member, there is an additional Saturn retrograde video, which I go through all of the alignments, and I give you the information on each specific star and what it means and how to do an alignment check with them. So, the star activation, this is the energy that's going to be in the collective, right? Delta Pisceum is the activated energy throughout the entire retrograde. So Saturn is bringing this energy to the collective naturally. Everyone's going to feel it. The alignments that we're going to be going through is a way for you basically to do a litmus test for yourself of how aligned am I with Saturn at this moment? Is it the high vibrational star, the low vibrational star of this energy of this star? How is it materializing in my reality? And so that's very, very helpful for you to assess. So again, if you're not an Eagle or Phoenix member yet, I highly recommend joining. And you get a lot of other goodies. You also get access to the star catalog, which is written analysis of a lot of these stars that you can utilize and look back on. And basically, I add a little treat every single month for members. It's been a couple months that I've been getting back into the groove of it, and I like to do something a little different every month, I found. So sometimes it's articles, sometimes it's videos, and sometimes it's discounts. So whatever feels like it flows. All right. So let's talk about Saturn retrograde in general. So when we think about Saturn, the planet of, right, there's three layers to Saturn. There's the lower layer, which is work, or your job. There's the middle layer, which is career, and the highest is vocation. When you're of service and what you do is your soul calling. And so those energies come through Saturn. The social structures and governmental structures come through Saturn. Wealth accumulation, asset management all comes through Saturn. Saturn is your long-term goals, your long-term making things a reality through stepwise success, of understanding that delayed gratification is absolutely necessary for long-term goals. It's about living in the present and doing things in the present that your future self will thank you for and that your future self benefits from. That's the Saturn energy. In our lifetime, we are living through a lot of distortions that come through Saturn as a hyper masculinized energy. Things like government structures, things like religion. All the Abrahamic religions come through Saturn. And a lot of the false father, false alien godfather sort of stuff, all the Yahweh curses and things come through Saturn. When really the original archetype of Saturn is the wise grandmother energy. So, and also lineage stuff comes through Saturn, like the mitochondrial DNA comes through Saturn, ancestry, things tracing through the maternal lineage actually comes through Saturn, even though in the distortion overlays, a lot of it is associated with the patriarchy and paternal lineage, but truly the mitochondrial DNA tracking is through Saturn as well. So when we see Saturn going retrograde, there's a lot of things that we need to revisit, revise, reassess, so that we can change, our reaction to them, or see things from a different perspective. And right, when we consider even what a retrograde is, right? A retrograde, it appears to be going backwards, but what Saturn's actually doing is, right, Saturn naturally is going this way. So in the retrograde, it's actually doing a loop in its orbital pattern. It's only appearing to go backwards. So something I always like to emphasize during retrogrades is, what is actually happening is not always what it appears. And so it's very important to use this sort of discernment, because all retrogrades are an illusion. And when we consider that this is actually happening in the constellation Pisces, or activating, right, the Delta Pisceum of the Piscean star system, Pisces energy is the illusionist. It is the sign of delusions. So, there's a lot of things that are going to be exposed, and that's part of Saturn as the planet of restriction. You know, Saturn's transit through Pisces, which began, I believe, early 2025, if I'm not mistaken. I think like February, yeah, like February, March, began in, 2025, is restricting these delusions and illusions of the collective. And, we see that happening. All of this is really crumbling and falling, and all of these, illusionary spells on the collective have been breaking. We've seen what's behind the curtain. There's no secrets anymore of what's happening, of certain classes of people, what they're doing to children, what they're doing to animals, our entire pharmaceutical industry, our entire medical industry, our entire food industry, our entire government structures, global government structures, and so on. Hollywood, right? You name it. Which institution hasn't been exposed? I can't think of one. Well, I guess, I mean, even the churches, right, Catholic Church and all of them, they've been exposed for quite some time. But I do think that there is more of a fall for them to come in the future. But right now, it's definitely all of the spiritual swindling that's been going on. And I don't mean just like preachers and things like that. These are master manipulator, uh, you know, black magic cults that have gotten into every single industry on our planet and have been deceiving the collective. And again, it's all falling, and we're seeing that. And, it's all for the best. So Saturn is doing us a service for that, even though it may be harsh, and a lot of people's worldview of the world has been completely shattered by that. Um, but for those of us who have known for quite some time, we're here for whatever next is going to fall, right? And we're the way showers of like, yeah, it's safe on the other side. Don't worry, we're all fine and we're grounded. And after the initial shock value, you'll be absolutely fine. I promise there's peace, internal peace, right? And I feel like that's also part of it. Um, is Saturn really helps us find our grounding and our own internal structure, so that we aren't swayed by all of the chaos in the world and the constant barrage of these things crumbling and falling and being exposed. Saturn helps so that it doesn't get into our nervous calm system, that it doesn't influence how we structure our life, how we structure our own energy. Um, so yeah, with Saturn retrograding here, it's kind of like a redo, right? Every time it's a retrograde, it's a redo. There's some medicine there for us to obtain in some sort of way to heal something. That's why they do the RX for retrograde. And again, because it's in Pisces, Pisces is the two fish. It represents the duality as oneness, right? That's why they are connected. It's the super string of everything that is there. And even when we consider Cetus, even though there's not an activating star of Cetus, we do have Deneb Katos, also called Difta, that is going to be activated, or I'm sorry, one of the alignment stars here during Saturn retrograde. And Cetus is the galactic historian, the everything that could, would, and was once is stored within the Cetus star system. It represents kind of the Akashic level of history. So not clearly, nothing is ever lost. And thank you, Cetus, for that service. And so Cetus, helps reinforce this sort of superstring energy that Pisces represents, which is, we are all connected. It represents the collective consciousness, not just of humanity, but of everything on this planet. So when we considered that we were all connected, yes, but of course there are going to be equal and opposite forces. That is part of the hermetic law of gender division. Everything has a positive or negative polarity to it, or as some may ascribe it, a masculine or feminine quality to it. That it's just an energetic principle. This isn't some political debate, you know? And again, these principles have been inverted into things like right wing or left wing and things of that nature. And so, when we consider that we are all one, it is this, yin and yang energy of understanding that the light cannot exist without the shadow and the shadow cannot exist without the light. And any sort of program that is trying to destroy one or the other is, not good. It's anti-life forces. So we don't want to be in that energy. Like these fish, they do not fight each other. They understand that they are connected. One may be going upstream, one may be going downstream, but just because they're going in two different directions doesn't make them enemies. And I think that's a really important part of understanding the high vibrational aspects of Pisces, because Pisces is also the sign of, um, when we consider Neptune here, it's amplified of spiritual alignment. Like, yes, all of the spiritual illusions and delusions run through the Piscean star system and Neptune, right? Neptune's at home in Pisces. And again, Saturn's moving towards Neptune, so it's becoming even more etheric and metaphysical and, all these things that cannot be attributed to the five physical senses. Saturn, who's all about the physical, is getting closer to the metaphysical because as a society, we are realizing that the structures in place that are only built on the material and only, are ruled by and governed by the material, it just does not work. We see the collapse of the human spirit at a rate that I don't think we've ever experienced before. And remember, just as a little side note, Pluto really has not entered Capricornus yet. And when it does, we will see the societal collapse like never before. So be prepared. And I hope you have a popcorn maker because it's going to be fun. I have my popcorn maker. It's a Pokeball popcorn maker. It's really cute. So, again, all of these things are really quite intense, but for the good of all. And again, not just humanity, the good of all living things on this planet. And so as Saturn is moving towards Neptune, again, there's this emphasis of like structure and the spiritual aspects of it. So it feels like generally in the collective, a lot of us are going to be more inclined to put structure to our spiritual beliefs, like incorporate truly our morals and what our soul is telling us to do, our soul calling, and what we truly believe and making sure that that is literally the structure through Saturn. Like how we structure our internal self, how we, have our, again, like when I was talking about the internal structure that's not swayed by whatever's happening in the world. Yes, and also having that structure being structured based on ourselves, our own soul. And so things like, Saturn, if your job, if what you do for money is not aligned with your spiritual beliefs, like, uh-oh, you better get right with your own soul. Like, damn, what else are you here for? Really? To make someone else money, to make a evil corporation money? Really? Really? And also how you spend your money. I just made a post about this on Instagram. It's like, selling your soul is not always a Hollywood contract. Selling your soul is also going to a job you hate and wasting your life at a job you hate just for money, or working at a company that is actively destroying our planet. Selling your soul is also using your money to support corporations, people, structures, whatever it may be, that don't align with your morals, that don't align with your soul mission. You know, if you claim you love animals, why are you buying meat of animals that have been tortured their entire life? There are so many sustainable small farms that you can get animals that lived a good life, that literally were not psychologically, emotionally, and physically tortured their entire life. And I hope it's triggering some of you. And I'm sure many of you are like, oh, well, because it's cheaper. Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. You're trading your life, but still for what? It's not even that much if you're just having to buy the cheapest shit, you know? You can't say you're against slave labor if you shop at Walmart. You can't. You can't say you're against slavery if you are financially supporting it. So it feels like a lot of this is really, being front and center with yourself and saying, are my actions, especially what you do with your time, right? Saturn is the planet of time. What you are doing with your time, what you are doing with your money, how you obtain your money, is it actually in alignment with your soul? Or are you betraying your own soul and in the process betraying God, betraying source, you know? And that's where we are as a species, as a human species. And it's really up to the humans to do this because what we're doing is influencing all the other animals. And we see that other animals are, attacking humans, and rightfully so, especially the whales. Thank you, Sadis. They are making it known, like, hey, you can't do this. You can't keep treating the planet this way and causing destruction for the rest of the animal kingdom. Whether it's the wild animals in the ocean or the rainforest or all of these animals that are just getting tortured in medical labs and pharmaceutical labs. And that's the thing. Maybe you're like, oh, I haven't done any of this. Okay, well, if you're on pharmaceuticals, chances are that pill was made from literal torturing and slaughtering of hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of animals. Your hand cream, your toothpaste, your cleaning solution. I mean, you know, I'll move on. But we need to be realistic here, okay? Put your money where your morals are. And that's the entirety of Saturn moving through Pisces in general. And during Saturn retrograde, it's a time to reassess this. And I'm not saying this to shame anybody. I'm saying it to bring awareness. And if you're triggered, good. And I'll give you a hug in that triggered spot. But it's true. Time to get right with your own soul. All right. Let's talk about Delta Pisceum, shall we? Yeah. This is a very interesting star. Again, it's going to be the activating star throughout the entirety of the transit, meaning it's the closest star to Saturn throughout Saturn's entire uh, multi-month, multi-month transit here. So until the 10th. And Delta Pisceum, very interesting. So Delta Pisceum, the ant hive mind comes through Delta Pisceum. And ants are very interesting. They are kind of a matriarchal species. I only say kind of because they're very different, but typically they do have a queen. Ants actually, the colonies can have one or more queen. Some ant colonies have no queens, and they actually reproduce via parthenogenesis and only have female offspring. So it's very interesting. It's like similar to bee spirit, but not really. Um, so they are matriarchal in their own way, which I think is really good for Saturn to be activating Delta Pisceum because it feels like it brings in some of the original feminine template codes through ant spirit. And so the hive mind of ant spirit is here, and ant spirit, when we consider ant spirit, right, they do what is good for the colony, right? They work together. There's a lot of lessons through ant spirit about collective efforts, work ethic, how everyone has their own job. Ants are known to be sort of in a caste system. They do have a hierarchical order, but it's for the good of the colony in a way, right? And um, during our time, at least, I'm not saying it's the ultimate utopian timeline, but during our time, there is social hierarchy, and there's nothing we can do to change that in this lifetime unless we reach immortality. But there's going to be social strata, right? And that comes through Aquarius typically with the Different class consciousness and different group consciousnesses come through Aquarius, whereas collective consciousness of all of us come through Pisces. So with ant spirit here, of kind of knowing what your job is and job specialization and focusing on that. And even though they do have this hierarchical order and sort of caste system within ant spirit, they they don't leave anybody behind, right? They even come to collect those who have perished. If they are in a compromising situation, they work together to rescue as many as possible. They don't do the, is it the crabs that you pull each other down when they're trying to get out of the bucket? No, the ants will literally form a rope and get everybody out. So they really do work together and they have this sense of solidarity and care and concern for their kind. And it holds some really beautiful energy through that. And so, ant spirit, there's a lot of different types of ants, obviously. And if ants materialize during this time, which I feel like for most of us they do in one way or another, usually, when you're outside and, having a picnic and things like that. But if they invade your home, right, that's a different thing, right? So if you have like carpenter ants, for example, you have an energy that is eating away at your foundation. Like your foundation is not sturdy, and you need to energetically reassess like the foundation of your life. If you just have like regular ants, I think they're called brown sugar ants, I think is what I was told they are. Um, then, typically when ants are in your home in general, no matter what kind of species they are, the general energy that they bring spiritually indicates that you have too many projects and you need help. Like, ant spirit shows up because like it's going to take more than you to do it. And so it's usually a call to do two things. One, to focus on one individual task and just accomplish it. Don't try to add more to your to-do list. Don't try to spread your energy too thin. And also, two, hire someone or ask for help from qualified individuals because that's how, you can get done, right? Teamwork makes a dream work is very, very much ant spirit energy. Um, so just notice if ants start materializing, likely they will be for the collective in general. But there can be some specific energies that come through for you specifically. The low energy of ant spirit that comes through Delta Pisceum is getting attacked by ants, like a horde of ants attacking and just attacking energy in general. So with Saturn here, it's really interesting because it brings to mind cancel culture. And culture comes through Delta Pisceum with this sort of horde mentality of the hive mind, of like attacking. And, since I originally planned on doing this video, which I know, it's been over a week, I think, right? 26 to now? Yeah. Since Saturn retrograde started, I just had, other things to do, you guys. Um, but there's already been some cancel culture things that have happened, and especially with Saturn here, right? Saturn is very much government structures, social structures, things like that. Because it's in Pisces and Saturn moving back towards Neptune, it really feels like it's cancel culture of, spiritualists or gurus and things like that that aren't actually aligned. People who are doing it as grifters or doing it through these distortion layers of Saturn of only two get money, not actually for higher calling, not actually for their vocation, or using, whatever they are to influence the collective into more delusions or illusions or spiritual psychosis and things like that, right? A lot of these quote unquote spiritual people or healers or whatever they want to call themselves, these gurus, share a lot of really false information and there's a lot of brainwashing and people can go crazy and just like look up to them as if they're gods or goddesses. I mean, we're all gods and goddesses in our own right, right? But like looking at them as though they're infallible and it's really quite disturbing. And I know there's one, I think it's Dr. Samuel Lee's his name. He's currently going down because he is apparently, or what do they say? Allegedly responsible for the perishing of someone. I mean, I know he was doing like an ayahuasca retreat thing, but why would you be giving someone MDMA and other drugs that aren't ayahuasca if that's what it is? But anyway, and the holistic psychologist is another one that seems to be going down after she allegedly shoved her girlfriend down a flight of stairs, withheld money, and all this sort of stuff. So anyway, we're already seeing it. I kind of wish I would have posted this before that. But I imagine that as the Saturn's retrograding, there's going to be more and more people who are just getting called out and more people who are getting exposed for not actually being in spiritual alignment or practicing the spiritual principles that they preach. So yeah, I think this will be very interesting. It really feels like the fall of spiritual swindlers, the fall of government officials that claim to be ordained by God or whatever it may be. Or, I mean, most of them are ordained by which God? All the distortion overlays through Saturn, all these Yahweh evil shit that comes through there. But it feels like a lot of people are going to start seeing through it and remember what that entity does and people who worship the entity, what do you think that they're in support of? Yeah, all of that. WAR, GNOCIDE, all those sorts of things. So, um, yeah, it'll be interesting. It feels like cancel culture is sort of the name of the game here uh, during this Saturn retrograde. And there's two ways that this can materialize, right? Like, one, of course, the rightful cancel culture, right? Some people should get canceled because they're not practicing what they preach. They have purposely been deceiving people and so on. And the other is, if the hive mind gets a whiff of something and just starts attacking people for absolute no reason, right? There are a lot of hive mind programs of attacking that occur, when someone, for example, when your light body activates, you typically get a lot of people coming at you for no reason. I mean, for example, when I first started talking about true sky astrology, I had multiple people attacking me, giving me death threats and things, which, by the way, one of them is the crazy girl who runs the True Sidereal crew. She tried to become part of the True Sky crew, and we said no. We weren't taking people on. And she went crazy and said that she was an agent of Yahweh, threatened to kill me, and then started the True Sidereal crew. So just letting you know who that person is, okay? She went nuts. But again, it's these programs. I'm not saying that she's evil or anything, but clearly, there's evil running through someone who behaves that way. So those things just happen, right? Like you may have a spiritual epiphany, and then, if you're not properly protected, and that's another aspect of needing to know how to properly energetically protect yourself, because if you're not properly protected, you know, and you have these activations and these forces see that you're having these activations, they will swarm you. They will swarm you. And take it from me because I've been there, I've experienced it, and it's not fun. So there's two ways that cancel culture, can happen. Again, it's the fish energy. It can go one way or the other. That's how it is. So you got to be careful. And that's where this discernment comes from. And it's so important through Pisces energy in general to have this discernment. And Saturn really helps us with that discernment, you know? And again, when we consider retrograde, what is actually happening versus what is it appears that's happening. Those are two different things. And Saturn should really help us understand what is actually happening versus what the illusion or delusionary aspect of Pisces of what appears to be happening. And I feel like once Saturn gets closer to Neptune, it's going to be even more of these spiritual people that are going to be going down, I think, at a higher rate. Delta Piscium is also a star that is connected to sleep. It has to do with the quality of sleep items that you have and how that influences your sleep. So things like the quality of your mattress, bed, pajamas, bed sheets, bedding, pillow, all these sorts of things. So now is a really great time to upgrade if you can. Because again, remember, Saturn is all about long term, long term. So, investing in yourself in these sort of long term ways are so important because it's going to help you for, the betterment of your life. You know, the quality of your sleep influences everything that you do, absolutely everything. And even sometimes it's the direction that your bed is pointing, right? And maybe putting your phone in the other room. It's all about the quality of the sleep based on all of these environmental factors. So it's something to, notice around this time and again, consider upgrading if you can. This star is also connected to water's response to the seventh note or the B note in the fixed do system and is connected to the sound Om. So when we consider that water is always responding to what we say, what we do, even what we think, but definitely, responds to sound codes. And so I'm not musically inclined. I can't read music or anything, but for those of you who are musically inclined, that might be a little bit more prominent for you guys. Um, and then you may also want to meditate with your water just with the Om and to help program your water. And so that's all I'm going to talk about with Delta Pisceum. If you want more information on it, you can become an Eagle or Phoenix member. And now I'm going to go through the alignments. So what I am doing is I'm going to go through. So I'm giving you um, I do alignments within half a degree. So I'm going to basically give you the date when it's like a half a degree one way and then a half a degree the other way. And then I'm going to give you the date of when it's an exact alignment. And I'm going to go in order of which, the dates of the exact alignments. So just letting you know that's how I'm going to structure this. And then, again, if you want all the information on what each of these stars are and how you can do an alignment analysis for yourself, that is available for Eagle and Phoenix members. You can go to the musings page on my website and access that video. It's about an hour long, and has like tons and tons of information. It's something that you can look back on all throughout December. So first, this already peaked actually. It started before the retrograde, Eta Andromeda here. And it goes until uh the 17th of August. And its peak was actually on the 1st of August. And I'll share a little bit of information with you because it's just really interesting. One of the things that Eta Andromeda is connected to, so it's connected to the Dravidian people, which are the pre-Vedic and non-Vedic indigenous people of India. And so, I mean, I don't want to go into the stars, obviously, because all that information's in the other video, but it's associated with that culture. And I was unfamiliar with that culture. I actually had to research it because I wasn't sure what this information was. And so, I'm learning about it and stuff. And then on the first, I met someone and they are from a Dravidian lineage. Because I asked him, like, oh, yeah, are you Hindu? And he's like, oh, I'm actually Dravidian. It's the indigenous people of India and da da da. And he's telling me all about it. I was like, this is so bizarre because I literally just wrote about this in my notes for an episode that I'm going to be recording, or a video I'm going to be recording, which I recorded it the next day. And it was like, just crazy stuff. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff that happens when, with alignments is like, oh, okay, literally the indigenous bloodline that is associated with the star is coming through, right? And obviously it's Andromeda and they're connected to the Andromedan lineages. So it's just very cool. And I just love confirmations like that. I mean, obviously a lot of alignments, things can come through. Like, for example, we just had that full moon at Okul here, and it was aligned with Roteneb of Delphinus. And I had a lot of people on Instagram tell me that they were, getting the dolphin messages that were coming through, which is great because with the alignment of Roteneb and Delphinus, you want dolphins to pop up. That's really great. But something so niche like Dravidians, like I was just dumbfounded, honestly. Really, really amazed. But again, that's why it's helpful to know all about these star alignments because when things happen like that, then you know exactly where it's coming from and what it's doing. Anyway, let's move on. All right, the next one is not Mirac. No. We have Mu Andromeda. The alignment is it already started and it's going to last until August 25th with the peak on August 13th. The other thing I should mention is that when I did these calculations, I did them at approximately like 5:30 p.m. in the EST time zone. I'm doing it at an astronomical observation in Ohio. So just know that yeah, these are EST times, but depending on where you are in the world, you can take the peak date and plus or minus a day. So if I'm saying August 13th, you can safely assume August 12th through August 14th is going to be the peak energy of these. Okay? Because again, it's going to be a different time depending on where you are. All right. So that is for Mu Andromeda. The next is Navi of Cassiopeia. Oh, that's Shadar. Shadar we will get to later. Come on, Navi. So Navi of Cassiopeia begins on the 4th, which is tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 3rd, and it goes until the 24th. And I'm sorry, until September 7th. And then it peaks. So Saturn is in exact alignment on the 24th of August. So that is when those energies are going to be the highest and a great time to do your alignment check. The only one that I did not give a range for is the South Galactic Pole, which again is a super big deal because I only did the exact alignment just because it's a pole. So that is going to be on August 27th. This is big. This is really big. I mean, South Galactic Pole, positive polarity on a galactic level. It's really big. Even though technically it doesn't have a charge, it still is connected to the positive polarity on a galactic level. And because it's Saturn aligning there, it's stimulating Saturn's south pole. And that's the pole that has that swirling vortex that doesn't really have a shape. Unlike Saturn's north node, of course, that has that hexagonal shape. Saturn's south node is more of a chaotic cloud pattern. And that's really interesting. And I highly recommend watching the alignment video because there's a lot that is going to happen around this time and a really great time to sort of check your karma alignment. All right, the next is Delta Pisceum. So it is the activating star, but we also have an alignment when Saturn is going to be exact alignment with Delta Pisceum. It begins on September 12th and then goes until September 26th with the peak at 9:19. So on September 19th is when we're going to be feeling this the most. And again, you kind of already know the energies of this because I talked about Delta Pisceum and what it brings. So pay attention to any sort of cancel culture thing that's happening around the 19th of September. Very, very interesting energy here. So this is really going to be the peak of the Delta Pisceum energy is going to be September 19th. And then we have um, next we go to Zeta Andromeda. And with Zeta Andromeda, the alignment begins on 9/14. And let me know if you guys care about within the, half a degree, because that's how I do my charts, is if it's within a half a degree, I consider it an alignment. If it's an exact alignment, if that's all you guys want to know, then let me know and I'll only do the peak days. All right, so with Zeta Andromeda starting on the 14th and going until October 3rd, and it's going to be peaking on September 25th. It's going to be exact alignment with Zeta Andromeda. This is really interesting. I love all the Andromedan stuff that's coming through. Those of you who, connect with the Andromedans, I'm sure that that is going to be, this is a very good time for you guys, I'm sure. Very significant. And then we have Mu Phoenicius here. This starts on the 23rd. And this Mu Phoenicius energy is really helping all of the things that is happening through Zeta Andromeda and the South Galactic Pole. It's really just like such supporting energy. I absolutely love it. So it's starting on September 23rd, and then it goes till 10/10. And its peak date is the 2nd of October, is when we're going to feel the most intense energies of that. And then the next one that we have is Difta, or also known as Deneb Kados here. And that is starting on September 24th and going until October 12th. Oops. Whoa. Okay. Going to April 30th of 2027. I wonder how that's significant for somebody. All right. Going until October 12th. And the peak is on 10/3. So some of you might already know, I think I've talked about this in a couple episodes of the energy that comes with here, but it's good. It's good, okay? If you know how to work with this star and with Saturn, yeah. Let's say may the things be in your favor. All right. Next, we have this alignment feels like it's kind of the overarching theme of the entire retrograde, if I can be honest. It begins on 9/6, on September 6th, and it lasts through the entire retrograde. And if you're wondering why some of these, alignments last longer than the others, it's because depending on how close it is to the poles, to the south celestial pole or north celestial pole, um, the it gets longer. So we have Beta Hydra here of Hydrus, the water snake. It's basically in alignment with this star almost the entire retrograde, except for the first, month. But from September 6th onward, it's going to be in alignment, and the peak is happening on the 14th of October, and that's when it's really going to be highlighted. And it just feels very like this is the star that is the, yeah, just overarching theme of the entire retrograde. So, whoop, very interesting energy. I actually had a dream about our last Hydrus alignment that we had. Whew, it was intense. All right. Anyway, next we have Delta Andromeda, another Andromeda for those of you who work with the Andromedans or are associated with that, beginning on the 16th and going until November 15th, and then peaking on October 25th. And this star's also known as Saturada, by the way. I like the name Saturada. It reminds me of, have any of you seen Chowder, the show from Cartoon Network? Um, what's the guy's name? Wow, why can't I? Schnitzel? Rada Rada. Yeah. So Saturada is going to be peaking on the 25th, and this is super, super significant. Um, I don't want to say my favorite star of Andromeda, but definitely up there. Definitely up there. And then starting of we have Shidar starting on October 8th, going until November 14th, and peaking on the 27th of October. So that's another very significant one. This is going to help you understand more past life stuff. I'm not going to go into it. Watch the other video. And then our last alignment for the entire retrograde, it begins on October 14th and goes until the 9th of November. And it peaks on October 27th. And again, this is the last one. So we have all of these alignments until October 27th, and then there's no more exact alignments or like peak alignments through December 10th, through the rest of the retrograde. Just saying. Okay. So, and this is Beta Tucanae. Tucanae. And that is the last alignment that we have, again, peaking on the 27th. So lots of interesting stars. If you want to learn more about all of those stars, then watch the video, become an Eagle or Phoenix member on my website, and you can get all of the information for these alignment checks. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, for episode 2. I will see you in episode 3. I hope to connect with you before then. And again, uh, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to leave a comment. But if you have questions about any of the specific alignments, make sure you drop a question on the other video that is available for members only. And make sure that you check out any of the classes that you're interested in and keep looking up. Because remember, we are all made of stars, but it's important to know which stars they are. And remember that the true sky don't lie. Toodaloo, everybody. Have a great Saturn retrograde.